So free market competition, the kind that you see between Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile, that should have brought us the Internet of Things over a decade ago. It just doesn't make sense for these big companies to lease and maintain the millions of small locations that you need to mesh together a network with such high resolution. So while researching this, I came across an ingenious solution. There is a cryptocurrency that can be used to incentivize people to hold little devices to actually help spread the network. People, the citizens of a city, can become the utility company and get rewarded for their efforts.
This is a 34-foot mast. It has a 5.8 dBi antenna. Low loss antenna goes to a box, and in here is a helium hotspot.
Mesh networks, or mesh nets for those who are in the know, are what we get when we allow multiple radio signaling devices to communicate with one another in the form of a seamless wireless data network. Now, the inverse of this is something I know far too well, which is going to your local coffee shop and asking for the Wi-Fi password, because every coffee shop is like a walled-off garden of internet. In contrast, think of a cell phone tower. You can be on the freeway making a call, and your call is jumping from tower to tower seamlessly. But helping these walled gardens work together is a technology that's actually not new. It's called LoRa, but it's finally getting the attention that it deserves. But interestingly, now there's a cryptocurrency that's being used to incentivize people to work together and connect devices in a way that's never been done before. To learn more, I tracked down a LoRa expert, so how about we take a quick trip to Florida?
So we're at the airport and we're about to head on out.
Hi.
He's a master LoRa expert.
So we've installed a helium hotspot. I'd like to just show you. This is a 34-foot mast. It has a 5.8 dBi antenna at the very top. In here is a helium hotspot. Coming out of the bottom, you notice they're both Ethernet cables, but one in fact is power over Ethernet. So you get 120 power basically through one of these, and internet through the other. The whole thing is well grounded for lightning protection into the ground. If you were to look at what's in the ground, you'd find a stake, I don't know, about 2 feet long. This is specifically LNR cable. It is very specific for low loss signal. The whole conversation about what antenna should you use is best determined by, in fact, trying it. You get like a 1.6 or 2 dBi antenna with the device. You buy a 5.8 and buy an 8. Buy 3, see what your results are. Much better to have wired internet than Wi-Fi internet. These are flat cables, these are flat Ethernet cables that you can snake under a window. So they go from RJ45 on one side to a flat cable under the window to an RJ45 on the other side. $1,600 total. So this particular rig, I paid $700 for the miner, and I think about $900 for the mast and the cable, all the accoutrements. The 2.5 months will pay off your capital equipment in most, if you put it outside and if you get it up high. Okay, so that would be a power only box. So that's in a place where many people will have power on the outside of their house, but you don't want to go snake internet into their home. So and there's several discussions about how to use these or how to set them up along with the miner. In fact, in a place where there's no power and there's no internet, you build this rig. Yeah, so every day this is constantly trickle charging this battery. And this battery now runs the miner, a RUT240 modem, so you don't need internet, you get cellular internet. And because this puts off heat, this has a fan.
Okay, so we're pretending that the water has accumulated and it now has gone all the way down and triggered. Okay. And then the LoRa network is sending over to this. Okay.
There you go, there, it updated, 1.56.
Do you see? There's the update. Cool. So look, we've successfully explained how much rain there is to a device using the Internet of Things.
This is all so much fun. You know, in the world today, there are all kinds of meters, gas meters, electric meters. So instead of 0.1 inches of rain, the same exact device, we could solve another issue, which is all the meter readers, whether it be gas meter readers or electric meter readers.
You see, I thought the big story was helium, but now I'm thinking about the big story being this Internet of like little devices that send signals.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, okay.
All right, everybody have a great day.
And this is where I would tell you about our sponsor, but we don't have any because I'm still a tiny channel and I'm like desperately trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you are enjoying this, if you don't mind hitting subscribe, maybe leaving a comment, the bell icon, the likes, all that stuff, that'd be super helpful. All right, now back to the video. So LoRa is an abbreviation for long range. That's capital L and capital R. So LoRa, hence long range. If it's a new term to you, it's okay to think of it like Wi-Fi, but with a few caveats. For starters, these radio waves can travel much further distances, so if Wi-Fi is like this, these are like this. LoRa can communicate up to 2 miles. They consume significantly less energy. In fact, a single battery can often last for years, which is awesome because if you have a little device that wants to know how much it's rained, you can put it out in a field with a small solar panel, you're good forever. And you're probably thinking, wow, low-powered and long range, what's the catch? Well, it's the amount of data that it can transmit. Like you could never have a Zoom call or really browse the internet. It has to be very small amounts of data that you're transmitting. In fact, LoRa's communication rate is so low, it's actually only 27 kilobytes per second. And when you compare that to the megabytes per second that 4G can handle or the gigabytes per second that 5G can handle, it's just bleh. So LoRa is defined by long range, low power, and low data, but what it really is it's a spectrum. So LoRa is actually a spectrum of license-free sub-gigahertz radio frequency bands. Now, it varies by country, but here in North America, it's the range between 902 and 928 megahertz. Now, generally speaking, a LoRa device will be a single battery, it will be low-powered, and it's only used to send data, generally signaling to a gateway what's happening, maybe how much rain there is, or something along the lines of low-powered information. Now, it's based on what's called a spread spectrum modulation technique, which was learned from chirp spread spectrum technology, or CSS technologies. Basically, hyperfast Morse code. Beep, 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 beep. What's that mean? Beep, 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 beep. Oh, got it. That kind of thing. Now, Mother Nature herself set up the first milestone we're going to talk about. So dolphins and bats both use a chirp pulse to figure out where they are, which is basically a variant of what's at the heart of LoRa communication. By chirping and listening to what's reflected, they can tell what's in their surrounding. Now, in the early 1940s, this was actually recorded and surprisingly patented and used for military technology. But then clever scientists started patenting and figuring out more efficient ways to chirp, basically compressing information. And the story of LoRa really begins in 2009, when two men, one by the name of Nicholas Soren and the other Oliver Seller, set out to develop a long-range, low-power modulation system for a broader community to use. A year later, they started a new company called Cyclio. So in 2010, this company started working with governments all over the world to help unify a standard. And all of the standard and guidelines went fairly well. Getting the adoption, the chicken and egg problem, was something that never really got off the ground until recently. Adoption of these devices just wasn't keeping up with some of the expectations people had about the Internet of Things. Now, a larger hardware company called Symtec ended up buying Cyclio in 2012. Now, this merger actually made a lot of sense because Cyclio was so good with the software standards and the hardware from Symtec was a really nice pairing. Maybe they could solve some of the chicken and egg problem if they had a bigger company that unified both aspects. So for the next couple of years, you saw a lot of standardizing of the way chipsets would actually be used in devices and the way that it would fit into the software protocol. In 2013, Sean Fanning, the infamous founder of Napster and Facebook advisor, took an interest in this technology, joined the conversation, and helped them revitalize the marketing effort. And a couple years later, the LoRa Alliance was established, with the goal of expanding collaborations and developing more protocols around the security layer and the messaging layer. And for a minute there in 2015 and 2016, it did feel like they were making progress, but to be honest, it was kind of meh after that, because I think we're actually going back up again finally. The Internet of Things might finally be here. Because in 2018, plans for a new cryptocurrency called Helium were finalized. Because the problem is nobody really wanted to invest in these gateways and then host them for free for no reason. But with the incentive of maybe getting some cryptocurrency for your effort, all of a sudden purchasing the hardware, setting them up, providing a node into a mesh network became something of value. So the Helium cryptocurrency was released in 2019 to encourage LoRa device ownership. It's fascinating that you can actually give somebody something that incentivizes them to work together, which has enticed a new generation of ordinary people, myself myself included, to learn about hosted wireless mesh network coverage in exchange for tokens. So the Helium network was officially launched in 2019 on August 1st in the city of Austin with only 150 gateways. But as of the recording of this video, there's over 500,000 of these gateways all across the world. And of course, that's not enough to really compete with some of the big cell phone carriers, but you know what? It's a step in the right direction, and it's fascinating to see people coming together to create a service like this. And there's a chance that in the future, this service might glue together so many people that it does provide a service that's equally valuable as what AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon are offering most people in this country. Especially because the community that actually runs Helium voted on what was called a HIP, which was a Helium Improvement Proposal, number 27, which is what paved the way for them to now start offering 5G services along with LoRa long-range low power. So I don't know where this story is going to go, but I'm just keeping an eye on it because it's awesome to think that as citizens, we're starting to wrestle some of that power away from the kind of monopolies or, duopolies that we've always had to deal with.
So I am a little bit worried that we're going to live in this future where cryptocurrency tokenomics actually dictate all of our actions and all of us are being tracked. But I'd rather have these decisions at least dictated by some kind of open DAO, some sort of open standard, something like Helium, instead of a company that needs to maximize profit. So now I have a much more clear vision of what the Internet of Things might look like. So I see things like packages and trucks and dog collars, but on top of that, a lot of business ideas that I probably can't imagine, but I know are possible. Who knows what the future is going to bring with the Internet of Things, but I can tell you it's coming fast, so get ready for it.